Head coach Mike Woodson and Indiana get ready for their first true road test of 2023.
You are Locked On Hoosiers, your daily podcast on the Indiana Hoosiers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
It is the Locked On Hoosiers podcast. I'm your man, Jacob Goins. I appreciate you making Locked On Hoosiers your first listen each and every day. Shout out to the everydayers out there. You're the reason that the podcast is growing like it is, and you're the reason we are here each and every day. We're a part of the Locked On Podcast Network, which is your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first ticket purchase. Indiana basketball gets ready for their first true road test of 2023 as they head to Ann Arbor to take on the Michigan Wolverines. We're going to talk about that today. We're going to talk about what it takes for Indiana to win this game, a couple of matchups that we need to look out for, and really it comes down to, is Xavier Johnson healthy? Is Malik Renew healthy? And where is the status of this team right now going in to the Michigan game? That's what's coming up on the show today. If you're on YouTube, like the video, subscribe to the channel. We are growing ever so rapidly. I would love to get to 1,500 subscribers before the turn of the new year. We're getting closer and closer by the day. So if you're not subscribed yet, please do. Helps us out a bunch. If you're on any of your podcasting platforms, we are free and available wherever you get your podcast. And I do appreciate you all, my everydayers, being here each and every day. Indiana taking on Michigan in what is the first true road game of the season, taking on Michigan in Ann Arbor. And before the season started, this was a game where you were concerned, right? This is a scary game on the schedule. 9 o'clock at Michigan. We didn't know the time yet, but it's 9 o'clock at Michigan, middle of the week on a Tuesday night, right? It's just one of those games that you don't feel overly comfortable with. And when you look at it, you just don't want to play it very much. I mean, it's just not an it's an exciting game. It's not a confident game to start the year. But you look at it in perspective now, Michigan's 4-4. Right, Michigan is 4-4 in this basketball season, and it's not a pretty 4-4. Folks, look at their schedule. They started out 3-0 with a win over UNC Asheville, Youngstown State, and a good win over St. John's, 89-73. And it's a team that averaged over 90 points in those first three games. Then they lost to Long Beach State, giving up 94 points. They turned around and lost to Memphis, 71-67. They beat Stanford by 5. Woohoo. Then they lost to Texas Tech by a lot, 73-57. And on against Oregon, 86-83. So in their last 5 games, they're 1-4 with Indiana coming to town. Where does this team stand? And it also was a heartbreaking loss against Oregon. It was a 3 in overtime that took down the Wolverines. So where are they at mentally right now coming into this game? Where do they sit emotionally coming into this game versus what we know Indiana to be right now? Should be feeling pretty good about themselves, coming off a nice win over Maryland, even though one of your starters, Xavier Johnson, didn't play. Well, we're going to find out. And this is a huge test for Mike Woodson, this coaching staff, and everybody on this team. We're going to find out exactly where this team stands this game tonight. Not that Indiana is a worse team than Michigan. I think Indiana is a better team than Michigan. I really do. I think Michigan is reeling right now. I think Indiana can jump on that and take advantage. And I think Indiana is a more talented team, a better coached team, and just a better squad overall. But doesn't mean they're going to win, right? Doesn't mean they're going to win the basketball game. And you look at what Indiana's going up against, their leading scorer for Michigan is Doug McDaniel, the guard who averages 20 points a game. They have 4 guys that average double digits. McDaniel, the guard, and I'm going to apologize. I don't know how to pronounce this guy's name properly. I've heard it said, and I can't say it. But they have a forward, Xavier, I hope is how you pronounce that, with almost 17 points a game. Terrence Williams II at 11 points a game. In Burnett, the other guard, who's averaging 10 points a game. So you have 4 guys that are averaging double digits, with one of those guys as a guard averaging 20 points a game. He also grabs 3.5 rebounds. He gets 5 assists, dishes out 5 assists per game, shoots 50% from the floor and 41% from 3. Can Indiana guard that? That's a big question here. Can Indiana guard him? And if Xavier Johnson's in the game, I don't know. We've had this discussion before, right? We've had this discussion before with when teams have big level guards, who steps up. And so far, I think Indiana's done a pretty good job. They've done a pretty good job, but it's not going to be hard to figure out who wants the basketball in their hands, especially in crunch time. And I think this is a game where it's going to be a 40-minute basketball game. But I think it's more about Indiana than it is Michigan. So what? They have a guy that scores 20 points a game. They're 4-4. They've lost 4 out of their last 5. This is not about Michigan. This is about Indiana. This is about Kel'el Ware having another double-double and matching up another big man across the way. This is Mackenzie Mbako continuing to play at a high level and put in 10 to 15 points and grabbing 7 to 10 rebounds and shooting and making a couple outside shots. Because guess what, folks? In case you forgot, you've got to hit shots to win basketball games on the road. And Indiana's going to have to make some threes. I don't care if it's Mackenzie Mbako. I don't care if it's Kel'el Ware. I hope it's Trey Galloway for once this season. Start making some threes, okay? This is a road game in conference play, and it's not just any road game. This is Michigan and Ann Arbor. This is a tough place to play. I don't care that they're not good right now. It's a long season, and that crowd will be ready to go. Indiana's a big-name program, and so is Michigan. This is a big game, and the Wolverines are going to do everything they can to shut down Indiana. They're going to. They're going to shut them down if you allow them to get in your head and you allow the crowd to affect you, because we don't know what Indiana does on the road. We don't know how they're going to respond. We don't know how a freshman in Mbako reacts when he has a bad night. We don't know what the leadership is if Xavier Johnson doesn't go. We don't know what happens if Kel'el Ware gets bodied up and gets shut down on the road. We haven't seen that this year. Does somebody step up and power them through this? Or does the team fold like a lawn chair and you got to kind of recover and figure out where you stand? I think it could go one of two ways. I think Indiana could come in here and play a good game again like they did against Maryland, and they could have their way. Or I think there's a really good possibility that Michigan gets back on track in this game and really throws Indiana off, and you kind of see some of the major flaws that have been with this team for the last, or I don't know, how about all the games to start this season? Those are things we'll talk about, plus some keys to victory for Indiana. I've mentioned them a few times here and some of them, but I want to get to some more of those as Indiana on the road at Michigan for their first true road game, trying to go 2-0 in Big Ten play. We'll continue talking about that coming up on the show in just a second. Today's episode of Locked On Hoosiers is brought to you by Game Time. It is frustrating when you try to buy tickets and you're having to go through all the fees. You have to go through all the different steps. You don't know where your seat is, and you don't know if you're getting a legitimate ticket or not. But you shouldn't have to worry about that when you're buying tickets to your next big event. With killer last-minute deals, all-in prices, views from your seat, and their best price guarantee, Game Time takes the guesswork out of buying tickets. I've used Game Time numerous times for sports and for concerts. I know people that have used it for like plays at the theater and stuff like that, and everybody I've talked to loves it. I love it. All my friends have loved it. I've even recommended it to my parents as well. They've used it a couple of times as well, and this is across multiple different states now, and everybody loves the Game Time app with the last-minute tickets easy to find and buy tickets for every kind of event in your area. And the views from your seat in every single venue is what people love about the Game Time app. Game Time is the only ticketing app that gives you complete peace of mind with your purchase. All-in prices show your total upfront, so you know what you're getting, and that you're getting a great deal without the hidden fees. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONCollege, LOCKEDONCOLLEGE for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. Well, Indiana on the road at Michigan tonight. Head coach Mike Woodson and this squad going on the road for the first time this season. They've had the neutral site games, but not a true road game. And so that brings us into keys to victory tonight for Indiana. What has to happen for the Hoosiers to start 2-0 in Big Ten play, only have one loss on the season, and feel pretty good about themselves before you move on to take on Auburn and Kansas? Well, I think Indiana, for first and foremost, you have to shoot the ball well tonight. You have to shoot the ball well in this basketball game to have a chance to win. Because, and the most important reason is you're on the road. And when you're on the road, the only thing that you can do to truly take out the crowd is to shoot the ball well. If you shoot the lights out, the crowd has nothing to cheer for. It doesn't matter if the opponent, and I'm not just talking Michigan, I'm talking every opponent, every road game that you play. If they go down and hit a three, what's the best response on the road? Hit a three. If they get a big shot, what do? Hit another big shot. They get a dunk, get another bucket. It quiets them immediately. They have no other option, right? The crowd, they're not going to keep cheering after you score. They don't want to cheer for that anymore. They want to see their team go down and score. And so, not that Indiana's been the best shooting team this year, but I think they've shown flashes, man. I just have a feeling, and I could be completely wrong. I could be completely wrong here. I just have a feeling that at some point, Indiana's going to put all this thing together, and as a team, they're going to get better shooting the basketball. Do I think they're going to become a top 20 team shooting in the country? No. But I think the glimpses are there, are they not? I just feel like they're there. And if they could put it all together and get it from all the guys that play, that's what you're looking for. Rather than relying on whoever, right? I mean, if you're relying on Mbako to step back and hit a couple threes, or you're relying on Malik Renew to take a couple threes, which doesn't ever make a whole lot of sense. I mean, I feel like they're working for better shots, but even against Maryland, you only shot 9 of them. I'm okay with that. I would rather them take less threes and make more of them rather than take 25 and make 5. I don't like that. 3 of 9, not great, but you only shot it 9 times. Whereas you had 57 total field goals. And that's just what Indiana does. But I'm not saying you have to just shoot lights out from 3. You've got to make dunks. You have to make layups. I know there were multiple missed ones of those in the Maryland game. And we've seen missed layups and dunks this season. Put back opportunities, Kel'el Ware, Mackenzie Mbako, even Malik Renew at times. The putbacks are going to be there against Michigan, which kind of gets me into my next point is, win the rebounding battle. Kel'el Ware and Mackenzie Mbako and Malik Renew need to have good nights on the boards. I even look at Sparks. I look at Anthony Walker when he's in. Those guys have to crash the board, because if you don't shoot the ball well, crash the offensive glass. Get second chance opportunities, and then put yourselves at the free throw line. And then please make your free throws. All right? The fact that Mackenzie Mbako has had the best free throw percentage last game is not okay. And I know 3 of your misses out of 8 were Sparks when he was in the game, but still, make your free throws. Get to the line and knock them down. Those are must-have points on the road. in an environment that's going to be hostile. If you get down, free throws are a great way to get back into the basketball game. Indiana has to shoot well and crash the glass. And a lot of you always ask the question, who has to play well, right? Who has to have a good game for Mike Woodson's squad to be in this thing and have a good game? And the obvious answer is Kel'el Ware. Okay, that's the obvious answer. He needs to have a double-double. I say that every show just about, and I believe it. He's a walking double-double. There's no reason he shouldn't have one. But somebody that I think needs to have an efficient night, whether it be Xavier Johnson or not, that's a huge question here, right? That's a huge question whether he plays or not. And I'm going to assume that he doesn't until we hear something else. And I'm going to play it like he doesn't. So I'm not going to bank on Xavier Johnson here, because even if he does play, what's his true status, right? What's his percentage? We don't know. I look at Malik Renew. I look at Malik Renew to have a big game tonight. Not turn the ball over like he did against Maryland. Crash the offensive glass, even crash the defensive glass, and start fast breaks. And he has to be aggressive with the basketball in his hands. No passing, no disappearing. He has to be aggressive. Now, if he's not 100% healthy, I don't know how much he can be aggressive. But if he's feeling good, Malik Renew can be a huge factor in this basketball game. I think he could go for upwards of 15, 20 points in this game if he puts his mind to it. Especially if him and Kel'el Ware begin talking and communicating and working together. So that is my player to watch, is Malik Renew. I think he can have a good game. I think he can be an impact player. I think he can be a difference maker as a starter for this Indiana team against Michigan. Defensively, quickly here, is don't give up the three ball. That's something we've talked about in legitimately every single game for this Indiana team, is communicate. Hey, how about we communicate on some screens, huh? How about you call out when your guy's about to get back screened where he doesn't run into a wall and his man goes off running the other way? Can we get into that habit a little bit too, please? I mean, that would be nice. You look at Michigan's 3-point percentage. I didn't have it pulled up, but I'm about to. As a team, they shoot 38%. Okay, that's not bad. But as I've said in the past, I don't care if a team hasn't made a three all season. If you give them open looks, they're going to knock them down. This is college basketball. This is the Big Ten. This is big boy ball now. You give them open shots, they're going to make it. Plain and simple. Sorry. And this team will run you out of the gym because they're at home and they'll take advantage of their crowd. And threes get people fired up more than anything. Threes and dunks, right? Can't turn the ball over on the road. I think you have to have, I'll say, less than 12 turnovers, which is kind of a lot. I'd like to say less than 10, but we'll see. Depends on who the guards are handling the basketball. If you can have less than 10, you're in a really good spot. 10 or less, but I'll give you 12 just to be safe. All of those things have to happen. And again, I think Malik Renew is my player to watch. If Indiana can shoot well, rebound the basketball, and take care of it, they're the better team. They're the better team. That's why I'm picking Indiana to win. I'm taking the Hoosiers in this game. I think they're the better team. I think they win. And I think they win comfortably at the end of the second half. And I think we're going to be impressed with this team. I hope I'm right. I hope I'm right. And maybe I am and maybe I'm not. I want to see your score predictions in the YouTube comments. If you're there, tweet at us or post at us on X, right? Send us something there at Locked On Hoosiers, or you can tweet at me at Goins2Jacob. Would love to see you on there as well. Or drop your predictions in the YouTube comments. Who do you think wins tonight, Indiana or Michigan? I'm taking the Hoosiers. It may not be the prettiest thing, but a win on the road is a win in my book. That's all that matters, and I think Indiana can do it. And we'll see if they do in Ann Arbor tonight. Well, coming up, we'll talk about if Indiana gets the win, what does it mean? What does this game mean, win or lose? We'll talk about that, particularly in the win column and the win side of things, because I think that's where we're headed. But we'll cover both sides coming up on Locked On Hoosiers in just a second. Want to remind you that Locked On has launched the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel. It's on YouTube. Locked On Sports Today is here for you 24/7, covering the top sports stories of the day with the local experts of Locked On, plus our national shows covering every league. Have you checked it out yet? If you haven't, you need to. It is really, really cool. Go to Locked On Sports Today on YouTube and subscribe to the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel. Yeah, I mean, it's all of our great Locked On hosts that's on 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. I mean, you can't beat it. You will be so knowledgeable about everything there is to know in sports, college sports, professional sports, leagues, right? The Big Ten is on there. NBA is on there. NHL. I mean, you name it, they've got it. And it's all of our wonderful people at Locked On. So be sure you go and drop them a subscription when you do with us as well on YouTube at Locked On Sports Today on YouTube. You can find them, and they do a wonderful job. So be sure that you go and check that out. Today's episode of Locked On Hoosiers is brought to you by LinkedIn. When you're hiring for your small business, you want to have as many top-tier candidates as possible to interview. That's why you have to check out LinkedIn Jobs. LinkedIn Jobs has the tools to help find the right professionals for your team faster and for free. When you're hiring for your small business, you want to make sure you have the right person. And I've had to hire people, and LinkedIn has been the easiest way to do it. My dad's a business owner. He loves LinkedIn. All the businesses we deal with in my company, they love hiring through LinkedIn. It's the easiest way to go. It's the free way to go, right? And it's always producing the best quality candidates. LinkedIn isn't just another job board. LinkedIn has a vast network of more than 1 billion professionals, which makes it the best place to hire. LinkedIn knows that small businesses are wearing so many hats and might not have the time or resources to hire. They even just launched a feature that helps you write job descriptions, making the process even easier and quicker. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedoncollege. That's linkedin.com/lockedoncollege to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. Indiana taking on Michigan. What happens if they win this game tonight in Ann Arbor? What happens if Indiana basketball and head coach Mike Woodson and this entire team, what happens if they go up and beat Michigan? What happens if they start 2-0 in Big Ten play? What happens if the Hoosiers are on a nice little winning streak before they take a trip down to Atlanta to take on Auburn? Well, here's what I think. I think you're feeling really good about this team. And I know there's a lot of people, and I'm in this same boat. There's a lot of people that are like, well, it depends on how the wind looks, right? It depends on if Indiana comes out and shoots the ball well, has good effort, stays healthy, and maybe even gets healthy in this game, and they win it by 8-12, right? Have control for most of the game, close out a 40-minute game, and have a somewhat stress-free evening. I think that's a lot to ask for here, but I understand. If it's a sloppy win, right, it takes a 3 at the buzzer or something like that, or some free throws down the stretch, and you turn the ball over 15 times, and you turn the ball over 15 times and you shoot 25% from the floor and you don't make a 3 all night, but you still come out with the win, you may not feel as good about it. But here's the thing. If Indiana wins this game, a win's a win, folks. A win is a win. On the road in conference play, you take that. You take it every single day in this basketball season. Now, it's a big if Indiana wins. They very easily could lose this game. And we could be talking tomorrow about an Indiana loss. We could. And I think there's an argument, and there's arguments to be made about how the loss looks. It's the same scenarios I just played out for you. What happens if Indiana shoots 40% from the floor, 50% from the floor, only turns it over 8 times, but Michigan does the same thing and they just squeak out a win in the end? I don't think it's the end of the world. Or if you go on the road for the first time this season and you play terrible, you turn it over 20 times, you shoot 20% from the field, don't make your free throws, don't make a 3, and you get run out of the gym by the half, then you have a little room to be worried. You have some room to be upset. But I think if you win this game, man, you become 7-1 on the season, 2-0 in conference play. Your only loss was to number 5 UConn. You have wins over Louisville, Maryland, and what would be Michigan if you win this game late tonight. And you're feeling pretty good about yourself before you go to Atlanta to take on Auburn. You're feeling pretty good. That would put you on a 4-game win streak. You're telling me there wouldn't be a little bit of confidence within this team, within these players, within head coach Mike Woodson and this staff? They wouldn't have some confidence going down to Atlanta, which I think a lot of you are going to be there. I think there's going to be a heavy dosage of fans there. You're telling me there's not any confidence there, that they don't feel like they can win that game? Auburn just lost to App State, who's not a bad team, but they lost their first true road game. What if Indiana wins theirs? I think that gives you a lot of optimism and positivity in the locker room, on the bus, on the plane. And you have some opportunities here to get some big wins with Michigan, with Auburn, and with Kansas. A win would be big here. What happens if you lose? Well, luckily you have a little bit of time, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, to figure it out and see how you match up with Auburn. See how you match up with Kansas. This is that 4-game stretch where I said I think Indiana goes 3-1. They're 1-0. This would make you 2-0. Then at that point, you just split either Auburn on a neutral floor or Kansas at home. This would help. If you lose this game, you probably don't go 3-1. Let's just be real. You probably don't. But I think it all depends on how it looks. Win or lose. I think it's how you look. I think it's who plays, right? Health-wise, who plays, and is the team getting better? We're going to find out. We're going to find out in this game. We're definitely going to find out against Auburn, and you better believe we're going to find out against Kansas. Luckily, you have this game on the road, the neutral site, and then you're back home. I'm excited, man. I'm excited. This is a really fun stretch of basketball, because then after that, you've got some smaller games, Morehead State, UNA, Kennesaw State, before you get back into Big Ten play. So this is an important stretch. These are resume-building wins right here. These are resume games right here. And Indiana has to take advantage of them. And I just have a feeling, things are going to get fun here in the next few weeks. That's going to do it for today's episode of Locked On Hoosiers. I appreciate you making this your first listen each and every day, whether you're on the audio version, wherever you get your podcasts, we're free and available there. Be sure you turn on notifications, subscribe if it's an option. If you're on YouTube, like the video, comment down below your predictions for the game tonight, your predictions for the games coming up. What are you most excited about? What are you most concerned about? And what do you want to hear about on the show? Let's talk about it. I'd love to see and hear from you. Subscribe to the channel as well. I mentioned we're pushing 1,500 subscribers. I would love to get there before the start of the new year, folks. That would be really, really cool to me if we could get there. So help us out. Drop a subscription. Turn on notifications on YouTube if you haven't done that as well. We post every single weekday and try to do reaction shows on the weekend. So be sure that you are keeping up with that. We'll have a full breakdown of this Indiana-Michigan game. Good luck staying up tonight. It'll be a late one, but we'll have a video and audio live first thing tomorrow morning, recapping Indiana and Michigan. So that's what's coming up on Locked On Hoosiers for this week. Until next time, Hoosier fans, stay safe, and I'll talk to you later.